Okay, little ones, gather round, because it's time for a story. Are you sitting comfortably? Great, because today I'm going to tell you a tale you'll never forget. The story of Hans, the unlucky hero who made the princess laugh. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there lived a beautiful princess. She wasn't your average run-of-the-mill princess. Oh no, she was known far and wide for her incredibly unique trait. She never, ever laughed. I mean, she was so good at not laughing that even the funniest knock-knock jokes didn't make her crack a smile. Her dear father, the king, was very, very worried about this. He scratched his royal head, twiddled his royal mustache, and thought, "My sugar plum can't go through life without a giggle. She needs a husband who's as funny as a barrel full of monkeys." So the king, as kings often do, declared a contest. Each Sunday, he'd open the castle doors and invite every funny man in the kingdom to make his princess chuckle, giggle, or even smirk. The reward, her hand in marriage and half the entire kingdom. Now the princess was a tad ticked off about this. She wasn't exactly thrilled about the idea of a horde of jesters, clowns, and stand-up comedians trying to tickle her funny bone. The challenge was on, and oh boy, did the kingdom respond. Far and wide, men of all shapes, sizes, and amusement tried their luck. They wore the goofiest hats, told the wackiest tales, and made the silliest faces, and some of them even made strange sounds with their armpits. But the princess didn't so much as crack a smile. Living close to the palace was a man who had 3 sons, Peter, Paul, and Hans. Now these 3 lads were a jovial bunch and thought that they could surely make the princess laugh. Peter, the eldest, tried first. He'd been a soldier and believed that his hilarious impression of his old drill sergeant would surely crack the princess. But even after smacking himself with a salute and tumbling onto his behind, the princess just looked on with the enthusiasm of a wet noodle. So it was Paul's turn. He was known for his silly, high-pitched songs, ridiculous dances with his limbs flying everywhere, and a knack for making people chuckle. When Paul put on his show, the king nearly choked on his own laughter, but the princess? Not so much as a single giggle. The king was getting desperate. He started to think that maybe, just maybe, there was nobody in the kingdom funny enough to make his daughter laugh. But then, up stepped the youngest brother, Hans. Peter and Paul used to tease Hans for being a bit slow and not particularly funny, but Hans wasn't bothered. Instead of trying to make the princess laugh, he asked the king for a job. The king, probably amused by Hans's audacity, gave him a job in the royal kitchen. One day, while fetching water from the brook, Hans managed to catch a fish. On his way back, he encountered an old woman with a shiny golden goose. Hans, who loved shiny things more than magpies, traded the fish for a goose. The old woman warned him that the goose was sticky, and anyone who touched it would get stuck. But Hans was too overjoyed with his shiny new pet to worry about such details. With his shiny, sticky goose in tow, Hans set off. He hadn't gone far before he encountered another old woman who tried to stroke the goose's golden feathers. "It's a lovely golden goose, but if you touch it, you'll never get loose. So stick with me," Hans warned. But too late. She touched the goose and was stuck. Now wherever Hans went, the old woman was dragged along too. The same thing happened again with another old woman who touched the first out of annoyance. Then a blacksmith tried to join the fun, and he got stuck too. Soon Hans had a whole parade of people stuck to his goose. When they arrived back at the palace, the spectacle was so ridiculous that even the court dogs barked and spun in circles. The princess, looking out from her window, saw the bizarre parade. Hans, the shiny golden goose, the old woman, the blacksmith, all stuck together in a line. And for the first time in forever, she laughed. Seeing the princess laughing, Hans decided to up the ante. He led the parade to the castle kitchen, where the cook, seeing the ridiculous sight, couldn't help but laugh. He got stuck to the parade too when he tried to smack the blacksmith with his ladle. It's a lovely golden goose, but if you touch it, you'll never get loose. So stick with me, Hans cried out. When the parade went by the princess's window again, the sight of the ever-growing absurd parade led by Hans and his goose made her laugh harder than ever. The king was so delighted, he almost dropped his crown, and so Hans, the youngest and least likely brother, ended up marrying the princess, and they lived hilariously ever after. The end. So remember, kids, laughter is a precious gift. If you find someone who can make you laugh, even in the stickiest of situations, never let them go.
Did you like this story? Ho-hoo! So let me know by clicking on the thumbs up.